Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar session on teacher buy-in. We're fortunate today to have Su Temlett, the wonderful Su Temlett, who used to work with us as one of our colleagues, is no longer one of our colleagues, but is working at Australian Christian College, which is a Canvas customer. So she just couldn't leave Canvas alone.
No way, never.
But yeah, we've got a whole heap of information that we want to go through with you today. We've got some of my colleagues on the line monitoring the chat. So if you've got any questions, feel free to pop that in the chat. And Rio and Eric, and I think we might have one or two others. Yep, we have Adam with us as well. Okay, give Adam some extra privileges. We have them on the line and they can help to answer those questions or to bring things to our attention. But I'll be bugging Sue from time to time as she goes through what she's presenting. And if we see anything that comes up that might be useful to bring up in context of what we're talking about at that time, then we'll have a discussion then. If not, then we'll have some Q&A at the end anyway, and we'll see if we can cover that off then. But without further ado, I'll hand it over to Sue to have a bit of a chat about teacher buy-in.
That's a little bit of a rhyme there, Paul. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Sue. I like it. A bit of English for this afternoon. Well, welcome, guys. If you're anything like me, you're thick in the middle of reports or report checking right now. One of the joys of going back to teaching is term 2, reports and everything else. So well done for taking time out of week 9 to join us. What we're going to go through today is just some tips and tricks, I guess, that I've picked up along the way. I've worked with Canvas in 4 different schools now, and so just seen a variety of, I guess, teacher buy-in, teacher blockers, some things that I guess have always been my go-tos for encouraging teacher use. And so that's the sort of thing that we're going to have a look at today. And so,
bit of a veteran now, aren't you?
I just need to stop switching schools so much, maybe, but it's, yeah, four Canvas schools now. And as Paul said, yeah, I wouldn't go anywhere without Canvas now, I don't think. So anyway, that's our welcome. That's not a very interesting slide. We're going to start here, getting started. And that cold is a bit sort of apt for today. What I wanted to think about here is just to sort of put a context around the first slide to get started. Think in your mind about the sort of teachers who are fairly reluctant users or not users at all. So you may have purchased Canvas. You might be using it as just a place to store files or for plagiarism checkers, things like that. And you know that there's capacity to do so much more. But people are maybe reluctant to get started or nervous to get started because often, particularly when we're trying things like technology in the classroom, if you've had that one bad experience where it went wrong and the kids are sort of running riot and you couldn't fix it and, you know, all of that, I think everyone's had that moment of sort of dread. And so it's very hard to get past that if you've experienced that and, you know, you might not want to try it again. So my getting started is always sort of with those kind of colleagues in mind. Just at that initial, they really want to dip the toe in the water. They're not the early adopters who are going to dive right in, as you see on the slide here. They're more nervous about getting started. And so the way that I've always approached that kind of getting started is through using discussions, because I think that it's such an easy win. It's very simple to use. The main thing that can go wrong with discussions would be if kids are not responding appropriately. So that's sort of like some boundaries around how to respond that you probably just have in your classroom anyway. But in terms of the ease of use, I find discussions are a great starting point. So they're super easy to create. All you really need is an open-ended question. You don't even have to flesh out the discussion even more than that. You could just put an open-ended question. You know, you could start it that isn't even linked to the syllabus. You could just have, what's your favorite book? What do you think of Donald Trump? Anything just to get the conversation started and see what the kids are able to sort of interact with. If you are going to use it for an educational purpose though, rather than just general discussion, it is super easy to actually put a mark onto a discussion. And so I have to make my discussions a mark discussion, just using a simple mark out of 1. So 1 is that they completed. So when you make a mark discussion, you're just literally going to go, yes, it's marked with points. 1 point is complete, a 0 point is no completion. And as soon as you make it a mark discussion, it enables you to see who's contributed without having to trawl through the entire thread of a discussion and see people's interactions. You can actually look at it in SpeedGrader. You can see not only their response, but also any responses that they've had to other students as well. So it's a really quick way of being able to trawl through the discussion threads by just looking at it in SpeedGrader. A couple of slogans that I often put on my discussions, I've said these before. So post once, reply twice, just to encourage that student to student interaction. I view discussions as a kind of 3-way thing. It's the teacher asking a question of the students and the students interacting with each other and with you. So like a triangle of interaction. And I think that's a really great way to sort of just have your first foray into Canvas. One of the things that I love about this that actually gets teachers on board is that it is a way to hear from every student in the class. And I often go to my example of my year 10 a few years ago at Barker College. I had a student in there who was English as an additional language student. And I really never heard from her. If she was in the classroom, you know, discussions often went too fast for her. She was often still translating. She'd not been in the country long. And she was often still translating as she went. So what she would do when we had an online discussion is I would actually get to hear what she thought. And it was a really powerful way of hearing from everybody in the class, not just those keen beans or those confident kids who are always, you know, going to jump in ahead of everybody else. And if you put that users must post before seeing replies function on, it's a small little tick box where you start a discussion off. It means that a student has to respond before they open up the Pandora's box and they see the response of everybody else. And I just love that because it is a way of getting a student's, I call it that, their raw thoughts before they are at all impacted by anybody else's thoughts. And for me, that's a game changer. I really like using technology in my classroom when it's a game changer. You know, if I can do it, if I don't need technology to do it, you know, what's the point then? But with this one, I feel that it is a game changer because as teachers, we love to know what everyone thinks. We want to know that they're processing the learning that we're teaching. We want to know that they're moving on in their learning. And this is a great way of knowing that. So yeah, I think that one's a great way to get started. Just make a simple discussion, one-liner, throw it out to the kids, make it marked so it's easy to respond to what they're saying, and then do that users must post before seeing replies. So I guess that's my first one.
Nice. Something else I really like about that is it gives you a lot of practice using the rich content editor in Canvas too, because every reply you have the opportunity to use the rich content editor. So learning how to embed things, even embedding LTI tools and other things in your discussion posts. So
yeah. Great way to put some video content into a discussion post as well. So, you know, what do you think of this? And put a clip into the rich content editor. Great, you know, nice inclusion of video, nice inclusion of, you know, gets the kids a bit more motivated. We know that they love to see and watch things. And so, yeah, absolutely. So I call that a no-brainer. If you're worried about getting anyone started, start them on a discussion. All right, getting braver. So this one is, I think, getting quite a bit braver because this one is actually beginning to use Canvas more as not only a time saver, but also as a formal assessment piece, okay? And so literally just done this with my colleagues at ACC this term. So actually took our kind of like first steps. We use Canvas a lot, but not necessarily for quizzes for formal assessments. We often use it for assignments, for turn-in and that sort of thing, but not in the classroom for a formal assessment task. And we've just purchased Respondus Browser as well to actually be able to lock down our quizzes so that when we're using them as a formal assessment task, kids can't browse anywhere else, a bit like the NAPLAN browser. So what we did here is actually go, okay, it's reporting season. We had to have our reports in this week, and the assessment task was due last week, just one of those scheduling clashes that I'm sure you're all familiar with. And so that meant that as English teachers, we were going to have to mark the classes of assessment tasks with the fastest turnaround in the world to get the marks into the report. And I was like, we could do that, or we could actually build a formal assessment task in Canvas using the quizzing engine, make most of it multiple choice, and then just have a determine a question at the end, in where we are able to see some of the students' writing, see some of their sort of thoughts around, away from that multiple choice option, or from the quiz question option. And that's what we did. And we have done all of year 9. I've marked them as a cohort, and all I've had to do is, when I get into the quiz, jump to question 47. I can remember it. Jump to question 47 and just mark that 10-mark question. I also put a rubric on this quiz, which has been a game changer, because the rubric can just have essentially can just apply to that determine a question. So I can still use the rubric. I don't even have to explain my marks out of 10 as such, although I have done that. So this one I am going to give a bit of a demo of, because I created it in a really lazy way as well. I'm all about saving time and not reinventing the wheel. So this one was even a lazy creation. Let me take you to, not that slide, let me take you to my ACC account. All right, so this is the assessment task that we did. Any of you English teachers out there doing Romeo and Juliet in the future, happy to share on Commons. But this is a 47 question quiz. And some of it is obviously, choose your own drop down answer, that sort of thing. Some of it is fill in multiple choice. Some of it is different multiple correct answers, multiple drop downs, etc. Lovely spaces in it. So when we did this quiz with the students, we were doing show one question at a time. But I've just put it all on the entire page for you now, so I can scroll through. Now, I haven't got the time to make this, no way. Okay, putting all these lovely GIFs in it and that sort of stuff. Great for the students. They loved having those spaces. It was engaging. It reminded them of bits of the film, was helpful, etc. But there's no way I would have made it as pretty as this. So what I did here was basically go to Canvas Commons. And I went to the Commons and I found, I browsed the Commons for quizzes on Romeo and Juliet. And I found in the Commons 4 different quizzes that I liked. And each time I was browsing, I used the favorite tool in Commons. So it just dropped it into my favorites, was able to basically say, these are the different ones that I want. And then I didn't want to just use one of them. There were parts of each different quiz that I found that I wanted to kind of put together to make this quiz. So I imported them all the quizzes, I imported them into a test course of mine. And then a bit of a workaround, because you essentially want to have the quiz questions in your course question bank, so you can add them to a quiz, like a centralized quiz. I downloaded the questions using the export tool. I re-uploaded them, which sounds like a lot of faff, but it was seconds of effort for what would be hours of building. And then they were all available in my course question bank. And then I made this brand new quiz from them. So a bit of faff, but super quick. And it was able to build me this 47 question quiz. It's worth 100 marks overall. And this is my determiner question here. So a determiner question just about the play, the knowledge of the play, threw some quotations in. They had to write a couple of paragraphs here. And that was what kind of helped us to have that, if they guessed at some of the multiple choice, or if they'd been lucky or whatever, this was able to really help us to see what their knowledge was. As I said, this was marked in the rubric in SpeedGrader. So I had the rubric there. When I went to SpeedGrader, all of this was auto-marked for me. So I didn't need to look at any of this unless I really wanted to. It literally says, mark question 47. You press on the hyperlink, jumps you to there, marked super quick. And so that was all of our year 9, doing a combined assessment task from quizzes on Canvas Commons, and then just a nice little workaround, which I found from Canvas Community. If you've ever unsure how to find those workarounds, a bit of digging in Canvas Community, found some ways of doing that, and so managed to do a conglomerate quiz, I guess.
The community is awesome.
Yes, yeah, I didn't really think I would find an answer to that one, but it was so good. And that would have took me hours to build. Yeah, my colleagues thought it was amazing. I did have to say, actually, I didn't build all this. Could have took some great street cred from that one, but anyway. And then one thing I did actually, when we were doing this in the classroom, it is always, as I said before in that first slide with getting started, it is always that slight bit of nerves. What if someone's computer doesn't work, runs out of battery? What if the internet drops out? I don't know, all of those kind of things. So I did print some spares, and I found some techniques around that. When I wanted to print spares and it was in show one quiz question at a time, you couldn't do that because it will only print the one quiz question. So you need to have it on show them all, like I just did then, and then print your browser, the whole lot printed out. I think it was 20 pages, but we just did a few of those back to back. And then at least we knew that if there was any issues, we didn't use them, but we knew there was any issues, we could do it. So anyway, this one I think is a great kind of way of, in terms of teacher buy-in. I created that. I put it into, we put it into our blueprint, put it into our courses, and then everybody got to use it. Everybody got to save time because, it was a quick thing. I was cohort marking anyway, but if they were obviously marking, it would have been so much quicker for them than actually going through marking hand-in essays in this occasion. And I think that was a great kind of showing what's possible with Canvas and encourage that buy-in. Because they weren't, they were seeing all that functionality and that speed as well.
And if it wasn't just you, you could have had other people collaborating on putting that together as well. So
yeah,
many hands to make light work.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. And that's the dream. Yes, so yeah, absolutely. And the following week, our head of PDHPE did exactly the same. Built one for her grade, put it through the grade, and was just like. Yeah, so it's just that ripple effect. I think, lead by example, and that ripple effect should help. And yes, Colleen, it was the browser print button to print. Yeah. All right. Then our next sort of thought, as Paul and I were brainstorming this session, was, okay, we're getting started, we're getting a bit braver, and then getting on to kind of broadening your use of Canvas. So spreading your wings a little bit. Canvas, as you know, is an entire kind of ecosystem of things that you can develop, and you get better and better at what you want to use for what purpose. You want to do something where your kids are commenting on each other's work. Okay, well, it could be a Google Doc, or it could be that you have an assignment with peer review, that kind of thing. So you get better at knowing what you can do with the tool, the deeper that you get into the use of it. So this slide really, I started to think about some of those traditional things and some of those things that I've begun over the years to replace them with in Canvas, and not fully replace. I'm a very talkative person, as you can see. I'm never going to get away from face-to-face discussions. English teacher, love hearing what kids have to say. But I also, as we know, most people from COVID would also think that there's certainly a place for having these asynchronous opportunities. So, traditional would be your synchronous discussions, pepper your programs with some asynchronous discussions as well, so give all of those students a chance to have a voice. And that's where your sort of asynchronous comes in. With assessment tasks, your traditional is probably your presentation, your assignments, your exams, and, maybe multiple choice topic tests if you're a maths teacher, that kind of thing. So begin to think about, where could I shift some of those into this online space, and what's the purpose of that? Is it so that the kids get instant feedback? Is it so that they get told whether they're right or wrong, and they get the equation worked out for them if they're wrong? Is it so that it saves you time as a teacher? Is it so it's reusable? I don't know, whatever the purpose is. But begin to sort of think, where could I actually, again, shift some of these things into the online space. So we've begun, we've been using obviously the plagiarism checker through Turnitin for donkey's years, I think. But we've begun to now start exploring more and more those formal assignments in Canvas. Now, we're quite a unique school because we have an online cohort as a distance education cohort as well. So we're exploring things like live proctoring, using Respondus Browser, and actually having live proctored sessions as well for our DE cohort. But that's kind of next level. Most schools would be okay with just having, you know, that idea of students taking quizzes in classes. If you don't have a lockdown browser, and we certainly didn't previously to about 2 weeks ago, if you don't have a lockdown browser, simply sit the kids so that you can see all their screens. So I turned my classroom back to front and just walked it like an exam hall so I could see all the screens, you know, to avoid any cheating. And if you know that most of it's, say, multiple choice or drop down menus, you shouldn't hear them typing into the browser anyway. So, you know, just listen out. Good little check. In my English classroom, we do lots of pair work, group work. And so sometimes I'll take that into the online space, particularly with peer review and particularly with anonymous peer review. It takes me a while to get a class to a point where they're happy to review each other non-anonymously. But if you go into that kind of, here's an assignment, here's a submission of it, you know, and actually begin to make some comments on what you see and what you think about from, you know, from the student perspective to another student. You can start off with that. Again, that's a kind of staged approach. You can start off with that really, really simply by just being like, okay, here's, just tell us 2 things you like about this piece. It doesn't have to be critical, but just to get the students into that flow. The more and more you do it, so I'm thinking more like my stage 6, year 11 and 12 classes here, the more and more you do it, the better the students get at doing it. And so then you can get some really deep responses. And if you do that, say, on drafts and things like that, not only are they reinforcing their own learning as they're doing it, but they're helping their student colleagues as well. Now, the next one is a brand new release. And so I'm going to demo this one as well. This one's exciting. This one's taking a photo of your notes. So we have a new feature, which is the webcam upload. Essentially, you can do online submission when you do an assignment, and then you can take a photo, and that photo becomes the submission in the assignment. And so I've been trialing this with a colleague at work, and I think I've got one set up here that I just wanted to show you. So this is just a random assignment where the kids have to annotate the text with the literary devices that they find in the text. So what I could do for this one is actually get them to take a photo of their text to show me that they've done it. You know, I want them working on their text in their book. You know, so I haven't got the particular text here, but I have got a different one that I made earlier. And so what I'm going to do here is just show you what it looks like. So here the student would not upload the file, but they would use the webcam. And let's hope this works with multiple webcams. Yes, that's now working. Yes. Okay. So you have to help me out here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we can see it on the Canvas version because your Zoom background disappears on that one.
Okay. So that's my photo of my annotations. Use that photo. I'm going to submit the assignment. Oh, submission failed. That's not what you want. It's probably because I've been on this page for ages. Okay, I set this demo up like lunchtime, so maybe I need to refresh the page. You get the idea. But that photo, let me just refresh the page. Sorry, you hate live demos. I've got all my tabs sorted out earlier.
It means we're authentic.
Yeah, yeah. Right, let's try that again. If it doesn't work this time, I'll let the people who do work for Canvas now explain why that is. Right, new attempt. Let's try that again. Just because I love using the webcam more and more. I can pick any page of this book though. I just want you to see how annotated this book is. True English teacher. Right, let's try this again. Oh, moment. Yes, it worked. Okay. Did you hear the silence there? Going, whoa, will it work? Okay. So let's have a look at what this looks like now. If I go to SpeedGrader, there we are. Now for this, I'm not really checking. This would not be like I'm checking exactly what it is that they've annotated. It's more that I'm checking that they've done the annotation. You know, I could quickly glance over in class if I wanted to. But this is pretty powerful for things like, you know, if you've asked them to do something at home, you know, like or they've been doing some work in class, particularly if you're away on a cover lesson or something, and everyone's going to take a photo of what they did and submit it. If they've been working in their books rather than working online, great. They're just literally going to hold it up to the camera, take a shot. And with this one, I've tested it with multiple uploads. So if I say wanted to do 5 different pages of that, I could easily do it. And so you just take another photo, another photo, another photo. All right. So that's what it would look like. Now, another thing here is I still have the annotation tools in SpeedGrader. So if I wanted to, I hate this bit now because I do look like a kindergarten student. But if I wanted to, I could actually, you know, draw arrows, highlight, circle, and put comments in on this, just in, you know, just as you would normally with SpeedGrader. So it's a cool little new function. And again, you can have a rubric, you can do anything you want to, but you just get them to submit a photo. I'm thinking heaps of possibilities for things like visual arts, you know, any of those practical subjects, lots and lots of options there. So that's...
I've even seen that used in mathematics as well.
Yeah, taking a photo of your workings out.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
That's actually what we took our photos for. We did a maths topic test and tried to see what it looked like uploading every piece. Yeah, so I just forgot about that. I'm terrible with the maths brain. And now my final one is the in-class presentations being switched out for studio presentations. Now, Studio is obviously an additional purchase, so some of you on the call might not be Studio customers, so apologise if you're not, but I'm going to demo it anyway because it's really something you should buy. You can talk to one of the CSMs about upgrading later, but welcome to Studio. And what I want to just do here is jump to, let me go to a course where we have a Studio submission. If your students are essentially doing, you know, they've done a presentation or they have either a presentation of their own and they've recorded it, or, you know, you've asked them maybe to put something in from YouTube and actually put comments on it, annotate it, that kind of thing, then you can actually ask them to do this in Studio and then submit to Studio. And I had one saved. Let me just find where it is. Maybe it's this one. Sorry, guys. Let me just find the one I want. I think it is here. So let's go to SpeedGrader. This is a submission of my favorite scene from Hamlet. Okay, so I picked it, you know, obviously with this one, I've found one that's off YouTube. But if this was a student recording and they recorded it, you know, they can record it, whatever, they can record it on their phones, they can upload it into Studio, but they would upload it into Studio. Then they would put comments on it, you know, in Studio to explain their parts of, you know, the assessment or parts of why they liked it. In this case, this is my favorite scene because, and then they would just hand it in by using Studio as their method of submission. And that allows you then to view it in SpeedGrader, to view all of their comments. So if you see here, this is where the student said, this is my favorite part because, and they would explain there. And then as a teacher, I'm able to respond in the thread here as well. So I'm able to see what they think about it, respond back and forth in the thread. And that's, again, all nicely encompassed into SpeedGrader for you. And you can still build that with a rubric. You can still have all of the assignment functionality, not obviously the annotations here because it's video, but really nice to be able to have that kind of presentation put into an assignment for you. So then I started thinking about this particular slide in the same way that I might do with a kind of like a menu, mixing and matching. All right, so Imagine if you were doing a studio presentation, or let's think maybe you were doing an assignment in which you put peer review onto the assignment. So not only then have you had, you know, a non-traditional way of submitting the assignment, but you've put peer review on it as well. You've actually put peer review on maybe to somebody's notes. You know, so you sort of begin to combine different ways of interacting with these, with the ecosystem, with these non-traditional approaches. And then you've got sort of like a really nice, rich learning environment using different functionalities of the tool for different purposes. So once you've started broadening your use, you can then start combining your broadening of that use, if you see what I mean. There you go.
I see what you mean.
That's a long sentence. Okay. Any pertinent questions in the chat at the moment, or are we okay?
I think we've got Rio and Adam.
I can see Rio with his thumbs up. Thank you. Yep. All right. Now, this is my very last minute slide. I don't normally publish things of this quality, but this is my report heavy. Let's cut a few corners slide. Once you've got started, you've got a little bit braver, you're broadening your use, you need to make sure that all of that hard work does not fade. You know, you've got a learning management system here. It's for most of you, I would hope it's here to stay. You're investing time in it, your school's investing money in it. And just to have it as a place where, you know, you just literally submit assignments is, you know, kind of like it's not using it to its full potential. So here, I want to talk about long-term use. All right. So, you know, the 1-year plan, some of you might even be in your first bit of rollout, but then you've got your rollout, you've got the 3-year plan, you've got the 5-year plan, you've got the 10-year plan, you know, so along with the adaptability of Canvas and the new features that keep coming out and how it keeps changing, you actually want to embed it into your teaching practice. And you want to do that if you're a leader on the call today, if you're a leader in your school, you also want that return for your money as well. You want to make it so that it's useful for teaching and learning. And so I start thinking, you know, about how is this going to be long-term used? So this is about stickability. All right. So we know the way to make things stick in schools is to actually program their use. Now, not sure where you're from on the call today. I'm a teacher in New South Wales, and so I can really only talk from the way that we program. But with your teaching and learning programs, if you put Canvas into your teaching and learning programs, you're going to use it regularly. And so I'll give you an example here from science. Okay, so this is a Year 7 science program from my school. I've highlighted every time Canvas is mentioned in just this particular week 2 up there and week 3 down here. Now, all of this is, you know, obviously quizzing in this point, but also the activities are built into Canvas as well. And what you'll find here is any teacher coming into the school who uses these programs are going to be using Canvas, because to be able to register the program, to be able to teach fully all the outcomes that are listed in the program here, they've got to jump onto Canvas. So this is what it looks like in the program. This is what it looks like in Canvas. Let me take you back to the ACC. So this is our lesson 5. So let's just go back to that slide. We can see week 3, I can read investigations 1.5, read chapter 1.6, and the lesson 5 quiz. So let's take you to lesson 5. Now we use a nice slick template here. So we've got the lesson goal. You can see investigation 1.5, and we've got our built-in teacher video. Then we go to the learning tasks, complete the learning tasks, some LinkedIn things here, LinkedIn resources, optional tasks, and there's our lesson 5 quiz. Okay, so not only is it sort of programmed, but it's replicated through the program in the online space as well. So we get really good use of Canvas because it is in our teaching and learning programs. So whatever you build, make sure, like if you're building it in Canvas because you get all excited and you want to build something, that's great, you know, harness that energy, but then go back and put it in your teaching and learning program because you want to be able to remember to use it next year. And so just keeping those kind of documentation up, and then you'll get people using it and embedding it long term. And that's what we like to see.
It becomes just where everything is. It becomes ubiquitous by that stage. It's
yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There we go. Now we've got 2 more slides before I stop. This one is gradebook and assignment groups. So one of the things I've noticed, and this is across 4 schools now, that the Canvas gradebook can become really littered with things that are not building towards a K-12 student's final grade. So again, I'll just talk from New South Wales point of view, but we have our formal assessment tasks that make up 100 marks, 100% of the course. And so in Canvas, what we really want to see is that those formal assessment tasks are the ones that are counting up over the year to make that grade out of 100, a bit like your student information systems reporting would do. But what often happens is that as teachers build classwork, homework, just chuck in an assignment and think, oh, I need to collect that in, I'll just quickly put an assignment so it acts like a Dropbox, anything like that, then unless you're using assignment groups well, or using the do not count towards the final mark on an assignment, what happens is your gradebook becomes incredibly littered with things that aren't counting to that final mark. So I'll show you what I mean here. And I'll do this in my demo site, my Canvas demo site. There we are. So imagine this is I think it's a year 7 English course. Here's what our scope and sequence would look like. So you may be familiar with this if you're a New South Wales teacher. Let's say there's 4 terms of 10 weeks, and here's what we're teaching in those 10 weeks. In our assessment schedule, let me just see if I can make that bigger. We have 4 tasks. Each one of those tasks has a weighting of 20 marks, 25 marks, 25, 30, all adds up to 100. Now, those are the tasks that I want to be counting towards my final mark in Canvas, and everything else I don't want to count. Doesn't mean it's not important, but I don't want to count it towards my final mark. Now, it also might be that some of these tasks have more than one part to it. So this poetry task has a composition and an analysis. So it might be 2 things as well, which make up that 25%. And they might not be marked out of 25. They might be marked out of 100, but need to be weighted out of 25. So all of that's possible through using assignment groups. And you can see here, because I've actually got this homepage to this particular course is my syllabus page. You can see here that it's showing you the assignment groups. So my first assignment group, for summative assignment for group 1, is weighted at 20, 30, 25, 25, and all my classwork is weighted at 0% of the final grade. And somebody, not me, has chucked an additional summative assignment 5 on there. It's not me. I will have to find out who that is. Anyway, let's go to assignments and I'll show you how this looks. All right, so here's my assignment groups, the 4 of them here. Let's ignore that 5th one. And you can see here that I've got my assessment task. It's out of 23 points, but my group is actually out of 20%. So that's going to convert that mark into a mark out of 20%. Next one, I've got 2 in here. One's out of 100, one's out of 56, but the actual group is weighted at 30. And so again, those 2 marks are going to be translated into a mark out of 30, and so on and so on. You get the idea. Then I go down to all my classwork for the term, weighted at nothing. Still has marks on it, still important, but not weighted at anything for my particular yearly mark that's building up. This gives students the idea to actually see what's going on in terms of their how they're getting on in that 100% across the course. Now, to do that, you obviously just you press a group on up here. And if you've got a group already, all you need to do is put this tick on here, which says assignment groups. It's already ticked on for me, but if you haven't got it on, you'll need to tick it on. And then when you've built the groups, just obviously go in And if I wanted to edit that one, I could edit how much % of the total grade it became. And so then you work it out like that. And then Canvas will do all the rest for you. And you can obviously just have that building up. I think that's great for, you know, really making the mark book be useful for what it needs to be. Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
No. Final one. Don't know if anyone else on here is the mother or father of a younger child. My child's 7, and he has just come out of the Paw Patrol phase. So if you know what I'm on about, I feel for you. Rio knows what I'm on about. But Paw Patrol has this character in it called Rocky, and Rocky says, don't lose it, reuse it. And he's the recycling pup. Okay. Now that just makes me think of one of the great reasons that I love Canvas. And that is, actually, I should have this slogan on a shirt. It might be short-term pain as you build the courses, as you flesh them out, that sort of thing, but it's long-term gain. Once you've got your content there and you can, you know, unless you're going to get a syllabus change, which we won't talk about now, but unless you're going to actually, you know, change your units, which you'll do from time to time, but once you've got them, you can keep embedding them, adding to them, reusing them, using colleagues to help build that out, have this beautiful collaborative space where you're all building content together. And then it's reusable year after year. Just roll it over, you know, if that's your module, roll it over, keep adding to it, roll it over. Each iteration is going to get better and better and build on the rest. And you're not going to lose it, okay? Because it's Canvas, you won't lose it. I've still got stuff that I made in 2015. I just share to Commons and take around wherever I go. So and you can keep it.
You can. And when you think about it, teachers have been doing that kind of thing for years, even with paper-based stuff and reusing the same sort of thing. But how much easier is it to do it when it's digital and it's inside of Canvas already? And even just updating it is so much easier.
Absolutely. And if you want to change schools, just don't change schools to a non-Canvas school. And then you've got all your resources. So, you know, make that a thing on your interview. Are you a Canvas school? And then, you know, you've got everything from go place to place. But seriously, one of the things that we get endlessly when you're rolling out Canvas or you're trying to embed the use of Canvas is teachers saying that they have no time. And I 100% agree with that. Teaching is frantic, it's busy, and you've got voices, you got pulled in every direction. You know, at any one moment in the day, you're sort of like a counselor, a teacher, an administrator, you know, a security guard, depending on the age of the kids that you teach. It's crazy busy. And so, yes, there is very little time. And so this is where you need to think smarter, not harder. And that's where it's kind of like use things like Canvas Commons, like I did, to build that assessment task. Use templates that you can easily fill in your courses so that it's quite easy to create a really structured approach to the learning. Use the Canvas direct share function. So someone's made something cool and they just share it directly with you. You can import it straight into your course. You can even choose in your course where exactly you want to put it in your module. It's right down to the fine detail, you know. And if you're a school that uses blueprints, well, great, you're going to build collaboratively in your blueprint and then share it out to your different classes. And again, you know, if you've got that collaborative content building, or maybe you've just got one teacher who's an absolute gun and they're happy to build it, and then you're going to all reap the benefits of it, you know, but play to your skills and use it in different ways like that. I do think it's great to plan around busy marking periods and start thinking through your scopes and sequences. And that way, if you're planning to use, say, self-marked assessments or things like that, when it's really busy and you've got reporting, you're going to bash down a few of the blockers in your school because they're going to be like, whew, that was easy. It's marked, I'm done. You know, I've just got to put the grades in or something like that. And so it's quick. You can look for things that make it a bit quicker for teachers. And then I think the one thing that has always been something that I've stood to over the years in my leadership is leading by example. So, you know, you're going to have those nervous colleagues. You're going to have people who are reluctant or just downright won't do it, you know, but that's where you can get alongside them, show them what you're doing, and bring them in, build something with them, go and stand with them in the class and help them when it's their first foray into doing it. So again, just kind of getting alongside, listen, and then lead by example as you bring your colleagues through. And gradually, that comment about there isn't time will start fading, because Canvas will effectively provide you back with some time. And it can provide you with space in the classroom. I haven't put it on here, but one of the things that I often go to is that it can clone you as a teacher. So you might be busy doing something with a group of kids because the other group of kids are doing something online that you've already set for them. And so you can almost be in two places at once, you know. So I think with all of that in mind, and that's how I would bash down any blockers. There you go. And I think that takes us to there.
Awesome.
How are we doing? I went on.
We're doing great.
Sorry.
No.
You said 30 minutes. Sorry, I went too long.
No, that's perfect. So yeah, are there any questions that anyone has whilst we have the wonderful Sue on the line? Just reach out in the
I think I've answered most of them in the chat, so nothing's coming through, but
any last minute ones.
They might be typing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That is clear. I might stop sharing. There we go. Well, that looks good. Wow, quite a few chat gone through. Yeah. I just can finish with an encouragement, really, in that, you know, go and browse the commons as a good way of doing a few time savers as well. It does depend on your subject, but you know, I know our maths guys find quite a bit out there that they can keep reusing. Maths pretty much the same everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kate's got a question actually. This is for you, Sue. Do all the subjects have the same grading breakdown? I'm assuming this is at ACC.
No, Kate. So every we need to set up the grade books individually per subject in the blueprint, and then sync them out to our courses. So we have an assessment schedule, and so the assessment schedule is then broke down to however you're going to set up your formal assessment tasks. But that is there isn't a way of automating that. You do need to go into the blueprint and set up the assignment groups. But again, because we use blueprint, that will translate into the courses as such. So, yeah. And no, Kate, not at all. If one subject weights their exam higher than the, because it's all contained, the subject is your course, so it won't affect any other subjects. You just need to reflect in your course mark book exactly what your marks, your weightings are. Yeah. And then Suzanne, how about outcomes and the Canvas gradebook for reports? Yes, so a few schools, not ours yet, but a few schools are obviously using the Canvas gradebook for continuous reporting. And that is a great way. If you've, I think to do that, you need to have your gradebook clean and functioning well. You can't have a gradebook that's messy, because if you're going to have a really messy gradebook, then students and parents can't make head and tail of what is the marks essentially. So I think work out how your gradebook's going to function. And then if you're using Canvas gradebook for reports, that's a godsend, because then you don't have to write all the reports as well. We're moving towards that in a few years.
One other thing that could be helpful as well is I've seen people adding pages in their course to the to-do list rather than creating fresh assignments. If it's just say, you know, read chapter 5, you don't want to do that as an assignment,
yes.
right?
No.
So, you know, things like that. And there's a little tick box when you edit the page and that says add to to-do list for things like that. And it will actually show up on the student to-do list for them to mark off.
Yeah.
So I can see it on there to do.
And then that's not gonna, I think what I've seen happen a lot is just that grade books, the mark books are just so cluttered, you know what I mean? And then if you're not going to actually mark it as well, if it's not, you know, if you're doing it, don't do an assignment unless it's something that you want to have in and mark, you know, in that case, do a page like you just said, or put it as an announcement or, you know, whatever, rather than actually set it as, you know, yeah. I have a direct message, which I probably need to pass on to you guys from Rabia. That sounds like a bit of a technical issue that I'll just pass on to. Oh, where's Adam?
I think Rabia, you may have reached out to me about that as well.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. So long as one of you's got it.
Yep.
And that's all right. Perfect. All right. One to follow up because that sounds a bit more technical. And I think, yeah, I feel like we've answered all of those then. Roselle, how about simultaneous editing of course contents by multiple teachers? That old chestnut. So simultaneous editing, I don't think you can do that still. Is that right?
You can, just not the same page at the same time. So if you're working on different pages, that's not a problem at all, or different content in the course. Yeah, definitely. You want to collaborate and do that kind of thing. But on the same page at the same time, it's just not like one person at a time.
Not like a Google Doc.
No.
Yeah. Also, just following on from that as well, is that a lot of schools that we're seeing now are building like a set course, which is of the template of all the materials where all the teachers actually work and design their content in, and how they can either share that out to the courses where the students are teaching. They can do that a number of different ways on how they want to do that as well. So that's another great way that you can use that. Multiple teachers in the one course is a really good way to build a big resource very quickly.
Mm.
Sorry for stealing your thunder, Sue.
Oh, that's all right. Nice to see you, Adam.
So there's another question from Suzanne. When you speed grader and the marks put in the gradebook, you then transfer those results to your student admin system for reports?
Yeah, that's the old double handling. Yes, it depends on your student admin system or student information system as to whether or not you can get the nice sync. 2 schools I've worked at had it lovely with the SIS, and then 2 schools hadn't. So yeah, at the moment we're double handling marks, even though apparently I won't name the SIS, even though apparently it says it integrates, it's not working nicely for us. But yeah, if you can have a SIS that talks to Canvas, that's perfect. The assessment marks go across. You just need to, the previous school I worked at where that worked brilliantly, we would set it up in the SIS. It would make the placeholder in Canvas, and then when you filled in the grades in Canvas, it took it back to the SIS, which was beautiful. You don't have to double handle marks. Everyone hates doing things twice. But if you haven't got that sophistication of integration, then yes, you're basically transferring those results to your student admin system for reports.
And this isn't always the case, but I know that there are some schools that actually prefer to have it separated anyway, so that you can review, because marks might be curved, or there could be some other review process to make sure it's all right before it goes formally into the student information system. But that's more a policy thing rather than a technical thing, I guess. Yeah.
And just one from Colleen there. We use assignment groups as well as modules. Hang on, missed it. David made it jump. But the students can't easily see from the gradebook which assignment is in which group. I'm not sure that matters so much, Colleen. The students themselves, I guess the mark book will add up the summative assessments for them, if that's how you want to do it. It doesn't really matter to them whether it is in an assignment group or in the module. Like we use module view. We don't even have assignments turned on in the menu for students. So it is just module view, but it's obviously, oh, it does as you're in vet. Okay. Yes, good old vet. Okay, that stopped my train of thought. Vet's a bit different, for sure. Do we have any vet responders? Want to pick that one up?
Veterans.
Vet veterans. We need
you didn't just do that, did you? That was horrible.
We need Tori or Ruth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you got
I guess, Colleen, you'd probably just have to label the actual assignments, what they are. So actually in the assignment name, just start a naming convention, and then that would make it clear to the students which ones were which. That would be my quick fix, I would have thought. Yeah. And David, hey David. We just started testing Compass Markbook integration. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, food for thought there. That sounds good. I'm not sure if everyone can see the chat, but yeah, you've just started using Compass Markbook and minimize reporting details. That's 100% what we're after, I think. So it keeps it very simple and streamlined for you got to think of all the users. It's not just the students, and it's the teachers might know what's going on, but the students have a bit of a better idea, but then the parents generally have no idea when they look at the Markbook. And so naming conventions or separating out what's summative and what's formative is really important. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're about done. Thanks so much, Sue.
No worries.
Appreciate you coming on and sharing your very broad experience. It's always lovely to see you. We do miss having you in the office.
I know. There's no team quite like your team. Even with Adam.
We missed the banter.
I know.
This is not the time nor the place.
Thanks so much, everyone, for coming today. We really appreciate you coming along and hope you got something out of it. And we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.